Now going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Ford recalling 5 different trucks and SUV models in a single day over 4 separate issues. Yeah, what is this? Now 50 recalls thus far in the year? It's not even June, folks, and Ford has had more recalls than any other automobile manufacturer, even more than Volkswagen, which is saying something. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Emmett White, who's a writer at Road and Track. And again, they say, quote, Ford recalls 5 different truck and SUV models in a single day over 4 separate issues. The Dearborn-based manufacturer is on a recall roll and doesn't look like it's stopping soon, which I'm actually surprised they don't specify Michigan because only 18 people know what Dearborn, Michigan is. It's famously known for, well, only being known for the headquarters of Ford and having the Great Ford Automobile Museum. I'll give it that as well. And here you can see, I'm sorry, you're going to see, was that Ford, not the Escape, which is what people call the Escape if you're lame like me. When I used to work at corporate America, I got a Ford Escape, or Escape. Is that the Ford Explorer? Which, if Ford was smart, they'd be putting a lot of energy in the quality of these vehicles because they make all their profit on trucks and SUVs. Partially why they pivoted to making mostly those vehicles all those years ago. Now, they say, I think that's, good question in the comments. What looks better, that? Or the Lincoln Navigator, which is, I would argue, more important than the Ford vehicle logo because, well, both made by Ford, obviously, but that's more important because that's more profitable. That is priced at a premium price point. That's supposed to be a luxury vehicle like Cadillac for General Motors. And yet they don't have quality assurance for the most important profit-making part of the company. Again, Ford lost over $5 billion in 2024 on EVs. They're crap, fiscally speaking, for the company. They're estimating to lose $5.2 billion this year on EVs. We'll see if that pans out. They make all their profit on gas engines, on the glorious V8s. And then they need to make boring, V6s and smaller. But nevertheless, gas engines. That's what that's where they make the profit, especially the SUVs and the trucks. The most profitable vehicles in the US are those categories. That's why every car company manufactures them. And if your company makes small entry-level vehicles, which isn't great, but no topic for another time, perhaps. Now, they say, quote, Ford can't seem to stop issuing recalls. May 9th is a particularly unlucky day for hundreds of thousands of Ford owners, as a Dearborn-based automaker issued 4 separate recalls for different issues. These recalls covered 4 models across the car maker's pickup truck and SUV line, all focused on individual issues, but some of those issues are more serious than others. The latest recall of the bunch pertains to 273,789 Ford Expedition and Lincoln Navigator units from 2022 to 2024. Which again, as you look at the pictures, they look oddly reminiscent and oddly the same because, yeah, it's same thing, different body, slightly different bodywork, slightly different nice interiors and badging, They say these burly SUVs are prone to a loss of brake function due to leaking brake fluid. Ford explained in a filing with the National Highway Safety Administration, only 1% of the hundreds of thousands of units included in the recall are suspected to exhibit the issue, but those will likely experience longer than expected brake pedal travel or even a rapid loss of brake fluid. Naturally, this decreased braking ability and increased the odds of a crash. Now, they say the next one is a Ford Bronco. A total of 2002 Bronco units from 2024 are being recalled over a minor issue with the child safety locks. Whoops. I'm sorry, let me get that Ford Bronco on the screen there, which the Ford Escort actually doesn't look too bad, and I do appreciate it comes with a stick shift option, which is very rare these days, especially rare these days, but I would argue the most fun you could ever have. They say a total, again, 2002 Bronco units from manufacturer year 2024 being recalled over a minor issue with safety locks. Ford says the left side rear door may be open from the inside even when the child safety lock is on. Whoops. Which obviously poses a problem for notorious curious toddler friends. The issue stems from the door flushness and tolerances gap, which shifted in the location of the left-hand rear door latch. Dealer technicians will first inspect the child safety locks and then potentially replace the rear door latch. Thankfully, Ford has not received any reports of injury from that. Okay, so there's a silver lining there. But they said, but that's not all for the Bronco. Both Bronco and Ranger pickup trucks were included in another recall for loose or missing driver's seat bolts. What? That's a fine work from the union at the United Auto Workers. I'm only partially kidding. Maybe this part was automated, but you're missing bolts for the seat. I understand vehicles are hard to make. They have between 10 and 30,000 individual components that make it up. It's the most complex thing most people ever buy in their lifetime. But the seat bolts, that's the thing, quite literally, the thing you sit in and interface the most. You just give it a little jostle at the factory and notice, oh no, this is loose. Now, they noted that only 36 units are being recalled, but it remains worthwhile recall because while keeping the driver's seat in place is essential in the event of a crash. You don't say. Also, the lack of bolts violates the portion of the federal motor safety standards, which automatically prompts a recall. Whoops. It shouldn't be hard to guess what remedy the issue is. Either Ford says dealers simply check for the Ford bolts before tightening or adding bolts. They say finally, a small crop of 2025 Ford F-150 pickups recalled for loose fasteners on the lower intermittent shaft. A total of 9,081 pickups were included in the recall, which stemmed from a manufacturing error where the lower intermediate shaft wasn't properly torqued to the steering gear and could potentially allow the shaft to come loose or even detach. Whoops. Ford says F-150 owners may hear a rattling noise. Well, that doesn't help too much. That's all Ford vehicles. You're always going to hear that rattling noise. It doesn't really narrow it down for us, does it? Now, they claim they'll hear the rattling noise this time from the steering wheel and experience excessive steering play prior to serious consequences or of detachment. Again, the remedy is relatively easy. Each dealer technician will inspect for intermediate shaft fasteners and then tighten or replace the appropriate fasteners for no charge. Which, in this case, again, the assembly of a lot of these vehicles use a lot of heavy machinery. A lot of it, in this case, I actually think it probably was not calibrated properly, and it wasn't obvious. It was torqued, but not to the right spec. Again, still pathetic that someone didn't calibrate the machine, but I can at least understand that. How do you miss bolts? For the love of God. Jeez Louise. Now, say for the brake issue, none of the recalls are too expensive, but they do represent a continuation of a consistent flow of recalls coming out of Dearborn. It seems Ford has honed its ability to limit the scope of these recalls thanks to the production line monitoring system, as exemplified by the 46-unit recall of the Bronco and Ranger models, but the impact on customers remains no matter how small the group. Which, yeah, I mean, unless you have a family member at Ford, which, if you ever go to Michigan, which, don't go to Detroit, obviously, but there are some beautiful parts. I used to go fishing there as a kid. Again, you will see mostly American automobiles because, the big three, Ford, General Motors, and what used to be Chrysler, now Stellantis, Italian owned. I mean, they built the state. Detroit was once the richest city on the planet, believe it or not. But again, Dearborn is a suburb of Detroit, fancier, safer. Low bar, but still safer. But again, you see a lot of American vehicles there, partially because the friends and family discount. And even if you retire from the companies, even retirees get the benefit, or some might say the curse, of a great, well, at least fiscally great leasing option. So you can lease new GM vehicles. And again, there's a mutual beneficial relationship, helps the company boost their sales or lease numbers. Some might say artificially because there's such a low cost, they're probably losing money at, but nevertheless, it helps in volume. So you see a lot of American cars up there because, again, you have the friends and family discount. That's where the headquarters are for the big three. And it makes sense. But unless you're getting that great discount now, even now, what's the compelling reason to buy a Ford? I mean, I do love the fact they make a Mustang, which, again, I would argue won the Pony War because it's the only muscle car that never stopped production. And also has a V8 and a stick shift, which the Camaro is dead. And the Dodge Charger, geez Louise, and Challenger, they're both going to be EVs and straight six engines with twin turbo, automatic only. So again, I appreciate Jim Farley's dedicated to having a sports car. He always said he'd be dedicated to a cheap, affordable American sports car, the V8 and a stick. That's a rare thing. That's awesome. And if I won the lottery, I probably would get a Mustang and put that in the garage and play with it. I mean, that's just pure Americana. But again, unless you're working at Ford, why would you buy them these days? There's so many recalls, some of them even safety related. Again, some of these recalls are BS. It's just the camera not working back. That's a software update. You could argue it's safety. I would argue be a good driver and walk around your vehicle and inspect the area before you move. But nevertheless, some recalls are more serious than others. But again, Ford now having over 45 and then recalls of the year, and now again 5 different recalls in a single day, which their record earlier this year was 4 recalls in a day. I gotta say, Ford, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. And lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.